What is going on? It is Nate the Game Guy coming back with another video at hand, and today I want to talk to you guys about problems when collecting for the PSP. The PSP is a handheld that I haven't really talked about much on this channel, and with this video I plan to do just that. But of course, when it comes to collecting for the PSP, not everything is all sunshine and rainbows when it comes to collecting for Sony's first handheld console. I'm going to be talking about some of the problems that you will see when collecting for it, also with keeping it over time, along with a few other issues as well. I won't cover every issue in this video, but I will cover some of the most notable ones that I can think of right here in this video. So without further ado, let's dive right into this video subject and take a look at some problems when it comes to collecting for the PSP right after the intro. Alright, so the first problem that I want to talk about when it comes to collecting for the PSP is getting the games resurfaced. So let's talk about this a little bit. So for anyone that's already been collecting for the PSP, you will already know that the games come on UMDs, or Universal Media Discs. If for whatever reason you just have not picked up a PSP along with some games, that's essentially the format of games right here. They're UMDs. Essentially, they come in this little plastic case right here, and inside is the disc. You have the little opening right here where the PSP will read the disc and all that wonderful stuff. As you can imagine, you do not take the disc out of these plastic cases. You just pop these discs right into the handheld and you are playing said game. Now, as you can see right here, most of the disc is covered up to prevent scratching on the disc. But what happens right here when the disc gets some scratching right here where you've got the little area for the handheld to read? That is when you begin to start dealing with problems. Now, there are a lot of things available for resurfacing discs for things such as Xbox 360, PlayStation 2, Sega CD. Pretty much every disc-based console, you can use a resurfacing machine for discs and CDs. But what about UMDs when it comes to PSPs? Well, I can say from what I've seen some videos here on YouTube that there are people that have figured out ways to resurface these games. However, the problem occurs is the fact that it's not as easy to resurface these discs and not as readily available to get discs resurfaced for UMDs. So if you are beginning to collect or planning to collect or already are collecting for PSP, that is a problem that you may run into at some point. Now, since we are talking about a disc-based console or handheld in this case, it's worth talking about disc rot. So what exactly is disc rot? Disc rot, just like the name implies, is when your disc begins to rot. There are several factors that play into disc rot when it comes to a disc. Essentially, your disc begins to rot either because of poor manufacturing made by the manufacturer, or the fact that there has been a lot of humidity within contact with your disc over time, along with a few other factors as well. I won't cover every single problem and every aspect of disc rot here in this video, but if you are wanting to learn more about the subject, I've got a video that you guys can check out right here where I do go into more detail about what exactly disc rot is, what you can do, and along with a more in-depth background about it. But of course, if I were to give things down to a short summary right here in this video, one of the best things that you can do to help prevent disc rot with some of your games is, if you are going to have your games, make sure that they are stored vertically. So instead of having your discs like this on a shelf, they're more like this, and that of course includes the case as well. Make sure that the games are in a climate controlled environment where there's heating and air conditioning and all that wonderful stuff. Unfortunately, when disk rot begins to come in, there is no way to fix your games. So once you have disk rot, it's pretty much game over. So please be sure to take care of your games and all that wonderful stuff so they can last you a long time. And sadly, with UMD discs, the information about disk rot with them is very, very limited. So please do consider taking care of your games when you are collecting for not just the PSP, but also other consoles and handhelds in general. All right, so of course, another problem when talking about when it comes to collecting for the PSP are UMDs in cases that are not authentic and replacement cases. So what do I mean by this? Now, obviously, as shown from before, you already saw that the UMD discs are in these white little cases where they've got UMD and little logos at the bottom. Now, I've seen plenty of times when shopping online, and I've seen in some cases at other different video game stores that these discs are in cases that are not their original cases. And I've seen when it comes to these replacement cases for these games, they have clearly a different design that you guys can see on the screen right now. And when it comes to these cases, you know, it's not that it affects like your game in any way, shape, or form, but you know, if you're somebody that wants to have the most authentic PSP collection possible, you're most likely going to gravitate towards the original UMD disc cases instead of these clear plastic ones. As someone who likes to also have everything be as possibly authentic as possible right here in the game room, these are games that I clearly go out of my way to avoid and will do my absolute best to make sure that these games do not make it into my collection. And of course, if you're somebody that just only cares about playing the games, you don't really care about any of that extra stuff, you can go ahead and buy these games like that. One of the main reasons why people put these UMD discs into these other cases is because the original case was scratched up, all that stuff, and they want something that's not as scratched. Purely, it's all cosmetic, but I guess whatever suits you the best. Obviously, you could pick and choose which works best for you. But for me personally, when it comes to my personal collection for the PSP, I do not like adding those types of games into my collection. And, you know, if that's something that may bother you, you know, that's probably going to be something that you'll see across the way when it comes to PSP collecting, are games in these replacement cases that are just not authentic. Now, this is a big one when it comes to collecting for the PSP, are the swollen batteries. So what do I mean by this? Over time, the PSP will get batteries that are swollen. And a lot of times they'll look really big and cracked, and it's just not a good situation because these batteries will clearly need to be replaced, or otherwise, you know, they could explode, they can cause just damage inside of your PSP or handheld. It's just not a good situation. Of course, there are replacement batteries that you can purchase for your PSP online. Unfortunately, they're not going to be made directly by Sony, so you will have to get a third-party replacement brand for it. And from what I know, when it comes to swollen batteries, another cause to not just from old age, but also not having your PSP charged a lot or not charged frequently. I always have my handhelds charged, not just because of swollen batteries, but also because, you know, with my personal game collection, I just want to be able to have the ability to pick up a handheld or console or whatever I want to play on and just pick it up and have it just be accessible and ready to go. But that is something to strongly consider about when it comes to collecting for the PSP, but also handheld consoles in general that have rechargeable batteries inside of them. It is something to be aware of because, like I said, it does affect the long-term usage and durability of these handhelds. But of course, if you're smart, you're educated, and you buy a replacement battery and take care of your batteries over time, it should be a problem that is relatively easy to avoid. But of course, it is a pretty notable one to remember when collecting for the PSP. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out my video. Please be sure to check out these videos here, and here. After all, I post a lot of content when it comes to game collecting tips, and other video game related subjects. So be sure to keep an eye out every Monday and Friday where I upload consistently, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.